You were so fat. I'm worried about the baby.
Kathy, I didn't gain that much weight.
Take a good look in the mirror. You're so fat and ugly. I can't believe you were going to be a mother. I feel so sorry for the baby.
Kathy, my mother-in-law gave me a nasty look and said insensitive words. I'm finally pregnant with the child of the love of my life. I had finally gotten through a difficult pregnancy. Kathy's insensitive words were exhausting me both physically and mentally. I want to think about my child first, but I can't afford to do so. I can't take this kind of life anymore. Do I have to endure my mother-in-law's words for the rest of my life? Just when I was about to give up, a single phone call would change my destiny. My name is Allison. I am 32 years old. It is no exaggeration to say that I am at the peak of my happiness. So much so that I was surrounded by happiness. The reason being the new life I was carrying in my belly. I was expecting a baby with the love of my life, my husband Oliver. Oliver and I had been married for almost 5 years. We both loved kids, so after we got married, we just went with the flow and kept trying to conceive a baby. But after a year or two, there was no sign of pregnancy. I thought it was strange, so we had a medical checkup as a couple. I found out that I had a constitution that made it difficult for me to conceive. At the time, I was so shocked that all I could do was cry. I immediately started fertility treatment, but even after a year, there were no results. In addition, regular phone calls from Kathy kept coming.
Allison, are you pregnant yet?
I'm sorry, but I was wondering if we could spend a little more time together as a couple.
Is that your excuse? You're not infertile, are you?
Well, that's...
Don't tell me you are. All my friends have grandchildren. We have to have ours soon too. Otherwise, I feel like an idiot for allowing myself to marry a normal girl like you.
Sorry, I'll do my best.
Don't make me say it every time. What a foolish wife you are.
Kathy's words pricked at my chest and steadily drained the life out of me. My body was getting thinner and thinner, and I couldn't even eat. I didn't want to worry Oliver unnecessarily, so I can't even talk to him about Kathy. I couldn't really relax even when I spent time with him. I took it out on him even though it wasn't anyone's fault. I hated myself every day, but Oliver never once blamed me. He always gently took my hand and said in a soft voice,
Allison, it's gonna be okay. Don't be so hard on yourself.
What's okay? People ask me all the time if we're having a baby soon. There's no way you can understand how I feel.
I'm sorry, I don't. But I do want to have kids too.
We can't do that. That's why we're doing this. If this is how it's gonna be, we should just get a divorce. When I was about to say that, Oliver shouted no. He hugged me tightly and continued slowly in a voice that sounded like he was about to cry.
It's true that I want to have children, but I married you because I love you, not because I want kids. Don't forget that.
What's the point of you being with me if we can't have kids?
It doesn't matter. Even if I knew from the beginning that we couldn't have kids, I would have still chosen you. I can say that with all my heart. So don't blame yourself about it anymore.
Oliver.
Looking back, I don't think I've cried so much since I was a kid. I was screaming and crying like a baby. Oliver gently wrapped me in his arms. That's when I decided to stop fertility treatment. And to my surprise, a few months later, I found out I was pregnant. The pregnancy was discovered by a test while Oliver was on a business trip. I was so happy, but I couldn't tell him right away.
What if the baby wouldn't grow up healthy? At least I would tell Oliver when I got the baby's heartbeat. A few weeks later, they checked the baby's heartbeat at the hospital. I heard it pulsing much faster than an adult. And even though I was in the middle of a medical examination, I burst into tears. A few weeks later, they will check the baby's heartbeat in the hospital. When I told Oliver that night that I was pregnant, he froze like a stone.
What did you just say?
I'm pregnant.
Are you serious? This is the happiest I've ever been. We're finally going to be parents. Thank you, Allison. I'm so happy. Thank you so much.
Oliver hugged me tightly and tenderly. We hadn't laughed and cried together since the day Oliver proposed to me. It's been about 6 months since then, and my belly has grown a lot. Then one day, Oliver came home from work and murmured a quieter voice than usual.
I'm home.
I asked him what was wrong. He held his head in his hands and slowly opened his mouth.
I was suddenly asked to go on a business trip next week.
A business trip? Then it's nothing out of the ordinary. I'll be fine.
It's a month.
A month?
Actually, another employee was supposed to go, but he's in the hospital. He and I are the only ones who know about the client.
I see. So there's no one to replace you. My husband nodded his head in response to my question. My due date is the month after next. That's probably why he's anxious about the month-long business trip. My husband is usually a little overprotective. He must feel uncomfortable leaving me home alone during the last month of pregnancy. To be honest, I'm not entirely free from anxiety myself. But all I can do now is give him a good send-off. With a pat on the back, I cheerfully said, Oliver, you're pathetic. I'll be fine. Go on a business trip for the sake of the company.
Well, what if anything happened to you while I'm gone?
I'll be fine. I'm going to my parents' house for a home birth in the middle of next month anyway. That's less than a month away.
That's true, but
I'll have my phone with me in case something happens, and I'll call you as soon as I can. Don't worry, okay? I try my best to convince him, but his expression doesn't clear. I could feel how worried he was about me. I can't keep relying on him. For the sake of our unborn child, now is the time for both of us to hang in there. It's okay, Oliver. And if things get really bad, I'll call an ambulance.
But
we'll hang in there together, okay? We're about to meet our baby. Don't dwell on it so much.
you're right. I'll go on a business trip.
Yeah. And so, Oliver left the next week for a month-long business trip. I'd be lying if I said I didn't miss him, but I can't say that. I have to do my best for a while starting today. Just as I started cleaning the house with such enthusiasm, the doorbell rang. Watching my step, I slowly made my way to the front door. I opened the door thinking, what if it's a heavy package? There stood my mother-in-law. Oh, Kathy?
You're late.
Sorry, I was just cleaning up a bit. Just let me in.
What?
Kathy? She pushed me out of the way and entered the house and looked around the room. She immediately started to make sarcastic remarks.
You're skipping chores just because you're pregnant, aren't you? There's dust in here.
I'm sorry, I just started cleaning.
Don't be so quick to talk back. I came all this way to check on you while Oliver's gone.
Oh, thank you, but I'm fine, so...
You're not fine. You are a foolish wife. I don't know what you'll do if I don't keep a close eye on you. You don't have to... You're not saying you don't want me to come, are you?
She glares at me sharply. I choked on my words at the sharpness of her stare, and she gave me a winning smile. While Oliver is on a business trip, I'll come and check on you every day. What? Every day? Yes. You should be grateful. And don't say anything unnecessary to Oliver, okay? Well, I don't think you need to come here every day. I can't have you slacking off just because you are pregnant. You live on my son's money, so don't you dare complain. My hell began that day. Kathy came to my house every day and started looking for something wrong. If there was even a single piece of trash on the floor, she would abuse me mercilessly. Just because you have a belly doesn't mean you can skip cleaning the floor. Why do you make me say the same thing over and over again? Pregnancy is not a disease, okay? As a housewife, you are supposed to take care of the house perfectly. No matter what I do or say, she complains. I do my chores as I'm told, and she always complains. By the end of the week, she even started to criticize my appearance. I'm worried about the baby being born from someone so fat. I didn't gain that much weight. Look at yourself in the mirror. You're so fat and ugly. I feel sorry for the baby. That such a person is the mother. I was so shocked by this comment that I cried right in front of her. But she never apologized and acted as if it was my fault. After a while, I couldn't stand it any longer. I decided to go back to my parents' house. When I called Oliver to tell him about it, he asked me anxiously, "You're going to your parents' house earlier than planned? Did you and Mom have a fight?" "No, it's nothing like that." "Mom was all set to go check on you. Was she being annoying? Maybe you were tired from all the attention." "No, I'm fine. It's just that lately, I've been having a lot of stomach cramps. I thought I would take it easy and go home to my parents." "I see. Okay. Then call me right away if you need anything. I've told the company that you were pregnant." "Okay, I understand." Thus, I succeeded in getting away from Kathy. Only a few days after returning to my parents' house, I went into labor much earlier than expected, probably because the tension in my body had been eased. I called Oliver, and my mother drove me to the hospital. It was hard to believe that this was my first delivery. A few hours later, a beautiful baby girl was born. About an hour after the birth, Oliver arrived at the hospital. When he saw our daughter, he was crying and smiling. "She's so cute. Thank you for all your hard work, Allison." "No, it's her who did the hard work. Even the labor pains that hurt so much blew away when I saw her face." Mothers are strong, aren't they? "Oh yeah, I have to call my mom too." "I will. She told me to call her when the baby was born." I picked up the phone that was under my pillow and called her. I was feeling a bit overwhelmed, but having Oliver next to me helped a lot. I put the speaker on just in case and waited for her to answer. A few seconds later, I heard a blunt voice say, "Yes?" "Hi, Kathy. I'm just calling you to let you know that the baby is born." "Oh yeah. It's a boy, isn't it?" "What?" "So it's a boy, right? He's gonna be the heir. So it doesn't make sense if it's a girl." "No. You're not telling me that you gave birth to a girl, are you?" Surprised by his mother's behavior, Oliver froze with his mouth hanging open. I was convinced that now was the time to take revenge. If I let him hear what Kathy said directly in front of him, it would be solid evidence of Kathy's bullying. "I'm sorry, Oliver, but I have no choice but to do this now." I dared to tell her clearly, as if to bring out her true nature. She's a girl, with eyes much like Oliver's. She's a pretty girl.
Beg your pardon? I said I don't want a girl.
Don't say that. Because it doesn't matter what gender the baby is.
You've got to be kidding me. What's the point of allowing you to marry Oliver? You are infertile and gave birth to a girl. What a useless woman.
Please, don't talk like that. Then she yelled at me.
That's enough. A fool like you should stay at your parents' house.
What?
There are plenty of wives to choose from Oliver. I'll find a more obedient and lovely woman for him.
I see. But rest assured, I will not be seeing you again.
Huh? What are you saying?
As if to interrupt her words, Oliver finally spoke up. I knew that Oliver's patience was about to reach its end. When Kathy heard Oliver's voice, she uttered an inarticulate sound. I could sense that she was clearly upset.
Oliver? Aren't you on a business trip? It's only natural that I would come to the hospital to see my baby, right? But more importantly, what was that?
Well,
you told me you were worried about Allison. And yet, here you are. You've been bullying Allison.
No, Oliver. It's a misunderstanding.
A misunderstanding? You've got to be kidding me.
What you've been doing is bullying. I've never seen him so angry. And even I'm terrified of him. Kathy started pleading with him to somehow get him to forgive her.
Oliver, please, will you listen to me? I was really worried about Allison and... That's enough. I didn't think you were such a horrible person.
No, I'm not. I visited Allison every day to check on her.
I know you were just trying to bully her. I was a fool to believe you. I despise you with all my heart. I doubt we'll ever see each other again. But I wish you the best of luck.
Wait, Oliver, please.
Her voice trailed off as she continued to call his name.
Hanging up unilaterally, Oliver sighed loudly and bowed his head to me.
Allison, I'm so sorry.
I didn't know this was happening.
It's Mom's fault that you had to go to your parents' house earlier than planned.
I'm sorry I didn't tell you the truth. I didn't want to worry you and wasn't sure if you would believe me.
What are you talking about?
Of course I would believe you. Oliver, the tears I had been trying to hold back began to well up. I couldn't hold back my tears, and Oliver gently stroked my head. After I was discharged from the hospital, we decided to move. While I was in the hospital, Oliver finished packing. Of course, we didn't tell Kathy where we were going to live. When Oliver told his father about the incident, he was furious. His father told Kathy that he was divorcing her and kicking her out of the house. Since then, I haven't been in touch with Kathy. Oliver has been receiving messages from her on a regular basis, but he has not responded to any of them. No one knows where she is or what she is doing. As for us, we're both struggling to raise our child in our new home. It's all new and confusing, but life with our daughter, who we finally got to meet, is sparkling every day. There will be many obstacles to overcome in the future, but with the family I love, I am sure we can overcome any obstacle that comes our way. I will continue to cherish each day every day, never forgetting my gratitude to my family.
I can't enjoy a family trip with strangers around. That's why you should stay at home.
I could hear my mother-in-law's triumphant voice over the phone. My in-laws, my husband, and I were supposed to go on a trip together, but I was left behind. My mother-in-law, who dotes on my husband, has been making snide remarks to me almost every day since we got married. I should stay home. That's a bit of a problem, isn't it? My mother-in-law laughed mockingly at my words. A problem? How pitiful. Well, think of it as punishment for not listening to me well. Then the phone abruptly cut off. It's not me who's in trouble. It's you guys. My name is Heather. I am a 34-year-old part-time housewife. I usually take care of the housework and work part-time at a cafe in the neighborhood. I have been married to Bill for 6 years. My husband was a colleague at the company where I used to work, although we worked on different floors. We talked a lot before we started dating because we often saw each other in the hallway. The turning point in our relationship was at the company's Christmas party. I happened to sit next to Bill that day, and we had a great time drinking and talking like we always did. Bill went to the restroom for a while, and I listened to a group of people nearby who were having fun talking. Then, a drunken manager from another department came over and started bothering me. Drink more. Come on. You're young. I was confused about how to respond to the manager, who I didn't have much interaction with. Just then, Bill, who was in the restroom, returned. Bill looked at me and the manager alternately, then gulped down the drink manager had given me and said, Chief, it seems like the table over there is having a good time. Why don't we go there together? He took the manager away from me and led him to the other table. This was the start of my realization that I was attracted to Bill. After dating several times, I confessed my feelings to him, and we officially started dating. 6 years ago, we got married, and although we don't have any children, our relationship is good. However, there is one thing that I am worried about, which is my mother-in-law, whom we are currently living with. After we got married, Bill and I lived in a small house together, but the next door caught fire, and our room was also flooded. We had to evacuate somewhere else while waiting for the recovery process to finish, but we didn't know where to go. Then, Bill's mother offered us to live with them, and we gratefully accepted. The problem is that after we started living together, my mother-in-law's comments became increasingly sharp. Even though I knew that she dotes on Bill and had made some snide remarks before, living with her made it more difficult. For example, one day when I had finished doing all the housework and was drinking coffee in the living room, my mother-in-law came home and started running around the house, saying this to me. Housework is a way to show gratitude to the husband who brings in income. You are really unfit to be a daughter-in-law if you can't even do this much. I don't know how to react to my mother-in-law's scolding, so I remained silent. If you can't do what you're supposed to do, then leave. There she goes again. This is her catchphrase. In the end, it was my mother-in-law who allowed us to live together because she wanted to live with Bill again. For my mother-in-law, my existence as a wife is nothing but a hindrance. Mom, don't blame Heather too much. Well, what Mom's saying makes sense. In a way, it's no good to neglect housework just because you were working part-time. Right, Heather? It's not a bad thing to cherish one's own mother, but I wish my husband would defend me a little more. I never intend to neglect housework. Even though I work 5 days a week for a short time, I never neglect the housework for 4 people. I do the same even when I'm not feeling well. On the other hand, my mother-in-law, despite being a housemaker, is playing around every day. I've never seen my mother-in-law do housework since we started living together. But since I'm living under her roof, I can't complain to her face. In this unfamiliar environment, I was just enduring it. Then one day, Bill suggested that we go on a trip. Just the two of us, which was unusual.
Do you want to go to a hot spring?
How about next month?
Now that the busy season is over, I have to take some paid time off. I thought if I'm taking it, I might as well spend it somewhere relaxing.
A hot spring? Sounds good. I haven't put in my shift request for next month yet, so I can take time off whenever. After discussing it as a couple, we decided to take a 3-night hot spring trip in the middle of next month. I couldn't contain my excitement and started researching the destination whenever I had free time. But just as we were about to make reservations, my mother-in-law started saying something outrageous.
Heather, I hear you're going on a trip with Bill alone. Why didn't you tell me?
I was speechless at my mother-in-law's sudden inquiry. Of course, if she found out, she might insist on going with us, so I kept it to myself. But without saying anything, my mother-in-law let out an exaggerated sigh and then said what I expected. Next month happened to be our wedding anniversary, so we want to take family trip to celebrate. Yes, we should stay in a luxurious pension. Naturally, I had no intention of going on a trip with my mother-in-law. But this time, we were planning to go with just the two of us. So, well, maybe next time we can all go together. It was the most compromising response I could come up with. But my mother-in-law wouldn't back down.
Next time won't mean anything. We're celebrating our wedding anniversary. Can't you see?
Well, if that's the case, why don't you just go with your husband? Just as those words were about to come out my mouth, Bill returned home from work.
Welcome home, honey. We're just talking about the trip with Heather. Oh, I'm so excited.
My mother-in-law was full of enthusiasm and started talking to my husband. And Bill was agreeing with her as if it were obvious. I wonder if Bill might have said something to his mother behind my back.
Well, if Mom is looking forward to it, why don't we go together? All 4 of us. Shall we put off our plan this time? Okay, Heather?
Then, as if always invisible, my quiet father-in-law joined and said,
Oh, a trip? That sounds great.
I had already become unable to refuse the situation of me and Bill going on a trip alone. All right then, next time we'll go just the two of us. Although reluctantly agreeing, Bill showed a relieved expression. I was not quite satisfied, but there was nothing I could do about it. I thought I would at least try to push for places to visit and local food that I wanted to eat. My lazy mother-in-law had no objections to me deciding on all the hotel reservations and sightseeing schedules. And the day of the trip arrived. We had finished all our packings, so we planned to have breakfast before leaving the house. When the alarm clock went off and stretched out my body in place. Bill? I noticed that my husband, who should be sleeping next to me, was missing. I thought maybe he had already gotten up and started getting ready. So I headed to the living room for the time being. However, there was no sign of Bill in the living room. Furthermore, his parents were also missing from the bathroom, kitchen, and entrance. No way! I had a bad feeling. and called Bill's cell phone. But the phone didn't connect. Next, I called my mother-in-law's cell phone, and she immediately answered.
Oh, Heather, what's wrong?
Bill is driving now, so he can't answer the phone. Driving? Where are you guys now? When I asked, my mother-in-law answered with a carefree tone.
Where are we? You were saying? We're on a family trip, of course.
We can't enjoy a family trip with strangers, so you should stay at home. I could hear my mother-in-law's triumphant voice over the phone. I should stay at home? That's a bit of a problem, isn't it? I said, and my mother-in-law laughed mockingly at me.
A problem? How pitiful.
Well, think of it as punishment for not listening to me well. After saying that, my mother-in-law hung up the phone forcefully. I covered my face with both hands, and my shoulders shook, not with sobbing, but with a big laugh. Just enjoy yourself, dear. You will soon regret leaving me behind. I immediately opened the hotel reservation site and booked a luxurious hotel in the tourist spot we were supposed to visit today. I also made a reservation at a restaurant where I could have a delicious meal. It was a reservation just for one person, for me. All right, let's enjoy myself. I got ready and took my luggage onto the cab. Since I had researched various tourist spots, I wanted to visit them. It was a small tourist spot, so I might run into them, but I didn't care. I decided to forget about them and enjoy myself to the fullest. I entered a small souvenir shop that caught my eye, went into a fashionable cafe, chatted with the locals, and enjoyed my trip. As the day drew to a close, it was time for check-in. The hotel I had booked was the most luxurious hotel in the area. As I passed through the hotel's automatic doors and headed towards the check-in counter, I heard a woman's loud voice.
Why can't we stay? I told you I pay if it's about money.
As I looked closely, it was my mother-in-law who was causing a commotion. The hotel I had made a reservation for them was not this one. As I kept my distance and watched the situation, my husband noticed me.
Hey, Heather, what's going on? You made a reservation for a pension, but we couldn't stay there, so we came to this hotel. And now we can't stay here either.
As he said that, he started to get closer and closer to me. My mother-in-law also approached, her face turning red with anger. Yes, that's right. The pension wouldn't give you the keys unless the person who made a reservation was there. It's a security measure. That's why I told you. It will be a problem, didn't I? Finally, they seemed to realize how foolish their actions had been. My mother-in-law and husband exchanged glances. Their faces deflated. Just as they were about to cause more of a scene, several hotel employees rushed over to us. They quickly ushered my in-laws and husband outside, where they looked quite ridiculous.
How dare you, Heather? We will stay at an even more luxurious hotel than this one.
I felt somewhat refreshed and checked in with a smile. The beautiful interior and luxurious decor made me feel like I was in a dream. As I sat on a sofa in the lobby, I heard a group of women next to me, giggling and talking about something that caught my attention. Hey, do you know about that hotel near the museum? There is a really bad rumor going around. Apparently, in the rooms on the second floor, people hear hallucinations and have all their belongings stolen. What? Is that true? that's not all. Apparently, someone even murdered there. And they still don't know who did it. We're lucky we're staying here, aren't we? Creepy. But if something like that really happened, wouldn't you call the police? Well, the hotel staff might be in on it too, they said. It was a rather ominous story, and I suddenly realized that the dinner reservation time was approaching. I quickly got up and headed to the restaurant. The dinner at the high-end hotel was even better than I had imagined. After dinner, I enjoyed a bath in the jacuzzi and was about to change into a nightgown and watch TV when suddenly my cell phone rang.
Hello, Heather. We found a gorgeous hotel. It's very comfortable. It's too bad that you couldn't stay here.
My mother-in-law sounded like she's in a good mood.
Oh, is it so? You are lucky to find a hotel you can just go and stay at like that, right? There is hardly any other guest here except for us. So it's quiet and easy to spend time. It's really lucky to find such a beautiful hotel, so close to the tourist attractions, isn't it?
With her words, something came to my mind.
Excuse me, but
is it a hotel near the museum?
Yeah. But what about it?
I knew it. I remembered the story about the creepy hotel that I heard in the lobby before going to dinner. I think it's better to run away from that hotel, you know. However, my mother-in-law laughed at what I said and dismissed it with a snort.
Are you jealous of us staying in a nice place, Heather? Just be jealous then. See you later.
Once again, my mother-in-law hung up the phone unilaterally. After that, I turned off my cell phone and spent the leisurely time. Then the next day, after checking out of the hotel, I visited the tourist spot I couldn't go the day before. After having fun all day on the third day, I arrived home around sunset. And it seemed that the other three had already returned home as I could see the light leaking out of the window. Hey, I'm back. As I opened the living room door, all three of them started making noise. My mother-in-law began talking about the incident that occurred at the hotel. She said that someone had entered the room during the night, and it was so scary that she quietly hid in bed. When she woke up the next morning, her wallet, phone, and all of her other belongings that were on the desk had disappeared. The three of them were in trouble and had to use the change that Bill had to call relatives who lived nearby for help. Fortunately, the relatives came quickly and paid for the hotel bill, allowing them to return home safely. Now, they are planning to go to the police station to file a report, and their anger is directed at me.
Yes, directly or indirectly. You are also responsible for this incident, Heather.
Even if you say that, if you had not left me alone and went on a trip, this would not have happened in the first place, right? When I honestly conveyed my thoughts, my husband raised his voice.
Shut up! Don't talk back to me like that. I can't deal with you anymore. I'm divorcing you.
I was stunned and couldn't say anything. But soon, I went silently to our bedroom, took something out of my cabinet, and showed it to him and his mother when I returned to the living room. Fine. I don't need a husband who won't protect his wife from being bullied. Bill's face turned pale. I had taken out divorce papers that I had prepared just in case this day would come. Did he not think I would agree to it? He looked totally shocked that I agreed to the divorce. Then my mother-in-law took advantage of the situation
and started pushing for a divorce to him. Get rid of this terrible wife and find someone new. I'll help you. Okay, sweetheart? Bill couldn't go against his mother and eventually took the divorce papers. Well done. Goodbye. Live happily with your precious family. Ignoring Bill, who had collapsed on the spot, I left the house. Afterward, we both filed for divorce, and it was finalized in a few months. Bill begged for reconciliation multiple times, but I ignored him every time. From now on, I'll protect you, Heather. So come back to me. He may have said that, but it was already too late, and I no longer had any feelings for my ex-husband, so I wasn't swayed. On the other hand, it seemed like my ex-mother-in-law was happy to have gotten rid of me for a while. However, that happiness didn't last long. The news of our divorce spread around the neighborhood. Gossip-hungry people began investigating the cause and found out about my ex-mother-in-law's bullying towards me. With her already haughty attitude, this incident caused even more people to look down on her. Since she had left all the housework to me, their house was now a mess. I had no interest in my ex-husband or ex-in-laws. However, since I went through a painful experience, I hoped that they would somehow rebuild their lives and live honestly. As for me, I was able to return to my hometown and found a job through a friend's introduction. At this point, I truly feel done with marriage. But who knows what the future holds? Either way, I plan on enjoying being single for a while.